When Chuck Norris speaks about toughness, people tend to listen a little more closely, not because of the myths or internet jokes, but because his life has quietly backed up the idea. Born Carlos Ray Norris in 1940 in Ryan, Oklahoma, he didn't grow up with strength handed to him. His childhood was marked by financial struggles, an absent father battling alcoholism, and a mother who worked tirelessly to hold the family together. He was shy, uncertain, and far from the image the world would later recognize. Yet those early struggles shaped something deeper. They taught him endurance before he ever stepped into a fight. For Norris, toughness was never about intimidation or dominance. It was about persistence. That definition would later guide not only his career, but also how he viewed others in the world of film and beyond. From humble beginnings to inner strength, Norris's early life wasn't filled with signs of greatness. He described himself as introverted, academically average, and lacking confidence. Moving frequently only added to that instability, making it difficult to form lasting connections. But everything began to change when he joined the United States Air Force in 1958. Stationed in South Korea, he discovered martial arts, an experience that would alter the course of his life. Training in Tang-Soo-Do gave him something he had never truly felt before: control over himself. It wasn't just physical, it was mental discipline, focus, and a growing belief that he could improve. Over time, he earned black belts in multiple disciplines and developed a reputation as a serious martial artist. That transformation didn't happen overnight, but it showed him that toughness could be built through effort and consistency. Becoming a champion through persistence. In the 1960s and early 1970s, Norris became one of the most accomplished martial artists in the world. He competed relentlessly, facing skilled opponents and learning from both victories and defeats. His win against Joe Louis marked a turning point, establishing him as a serious competitor. He went on to hold the professional middleweight karate champion title for 6 consecutive years, a feat that required not just physical strength, but mental resilience. These years defined his understanding of toughness. It wasn't about never losing, it was about returning stronger after setbacks. That same mindset would carry into every aspect of his life. By the time he retired from competition, he had built a legacy rooted in discipline, proving that consistent effort often matters more than natural talent. Breaking into Hollywood with Bruce Lee. Chuck Norris's entry into Hollywood came through a connection that would become legendary: his friendship with Bruce Lee. When Lee cast him in The Way of the Dragon in 1972, it introduced Norris to a global audience. Their fight scene in the Roman Colosseum remains one of the most iconic moments in martial arts cinema, but beyond the choreography, it represented something deeper: mutual respect between two disciplined practitioners. That role opened doors, but success didn't come instantly. Norris had to work through smaller roles and limited opportunities before finding his footing. He approached acting the same way he approached martial arts, through steady improvement. Over time, he developed a style that felt grounded and authentic, allowing audiences to connect with him in a way that went beyond performance. A career built on authenticity. Throughout the 1970s and 1980s, Norris became a recognizable figure in action films. Movies like Good Guys Wear Black, The Octagon, and Lone Wolf McQuade helped establish his presence. He wasn't the most expressive actor, but that worked in his favor. His calm demeanor and physical discipline gave his roles a sense of realism. During the mid-1980s, his work with Canon Films turned him into a cultural icon. Films like Missing in Action, Code of Silence, and The Delta Force resonated with audiences who were drawn to straightforward stories of courage and justice. He didn't rely on elaborate effects or exaggerated performances. Instead, he brought a consistent, grounded energy that reflected who he was as a person, television, and a lasting legacy. In the 1990s, Norris reached a new level of recognition through Walker, Texas Ranger. The show combined action with themes of morality, justice, and personal responsibility. It wasn't just entertainment, it reflected values that Norris believed in deeply. The series ran for 8 seasons and connected with audiences around the world. Off-screen, He extended that influence through initiatives like Kickstart Kids, which used martial arts to teach discipline and self-confidence to young people. This phase of his life showed that his impact went beyond film and television. He became a role model for many, demonstrating that strength could be used to guide and support others rather than simply to impress. The personal side of a public figure. While his professional life continued to grow, Norris's personal life included its share of challenges. He married young and built a family, raising children while navigating the demands of a growing career. Like many long-term relationships, his first marriage faced difficulties and eventually ended after decades together. Later, he found love again and built a blended family, embracing fatherhood at different stages of his life. One of the most emotional moments came when he reconnected with a daughter he had not known earlier in life. He chose to accept that part of his past openly, focusing on building a relationship rather than avoiding responsibility. These experiences added depth to his character, showing that growth often comes from facing difficult truths honestly. How Chuck Norris defines toughness. For Norris, toughness has never been about appearances. It's about perseverance, responsibility, and staying true to one's values, even when it's difficult. That perspective shaped how he viewed others in his field. In a rare reflection, he named the actors he believed embodied real toughness, not just on screen, but in life. His list wasn't based solely on physical strength or action roles. It included individuals who showed resilience, discipline, and authenticity. These were people who had faced challenges, pushed through them, and remained committed to their craft. For Norris, those qualities mattered far more than any single performance or reputation. The 10 toughest actors. According to Chuck Norris, among those he admired was Steve McQueen, whose quiet intensity and real-life passion for racing gave his performances authenticity. Clint Eastwood stood out for his calm authority and ability to lead both in front of and behind the camera. Charles Bronson's journey from a working-class background to stardom reflected raw determination. Lee Marvin brought real military experience into his roles, adding depth to his performances. John Wayne represented a different kind of strength, one rooted in presence and conviction. Bruce Lee, of course, was included not just for his skill, but for his philosophy and discipline. Sylvester Stallone earned respect for his relentless work ethic, while Arnold Schwarzenegger's journey showed the power of ambition. Gene Hackman and Tommy Lee Jones rounded out the list, both known for their commanding presence and subtle intensity. A legacy beyond strength. In the end, Chuck Norris's perspective on toughness reveals more about his character than any role he played. He doesn't measure strength by physical ability alone, but by how a person lives, endures, and grows. His own life reflects that philosophy, from a quiet childhood filled with challenges to a career that spanned martial arts, film, and television. The actors he respects share that same foundation of resilience and authenticity. Their stories, like his, are about more than success. They are about persistence, discipline, and the willingness to keep moving forward. That is the kind of toughness that lasts, long after the spotlight fades.